Hello. Today we are going to do section 16.3, 16.4, and 16.5. 16.3 is called The Crisis Deepens, and it's just more on the divide between the North and the South in the United States in the 1850s. So, start off with the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and it's about as boring as it sounds. But these two states were originally part of Nebraska. As the Nebraska Territory, there was no such thing as Kansas, but they wanted to split in two, and they had to decide, kind of what to be done with that. Well, Stephen Douglas of Illinois introduced a bill that would split these into two and let the voters decide if they were to be free or slave states. So there was a lot of arguing and a lot of debate about that, and especially by the North, because technically they could both be free states. So, with all the debates, people actually started moving into these states so they could decide whether or not to vote for or against it. People would like pack up all their stuff, their kids and everything, and move to Kansas or move to Nebraska. In Kansas, slavery was legalized, but many people disagreed, and they actually started their own government. And it led to a lot of fighting in Kansas, and it was actually known as Bloody Kansas for a while because there was so much fighting and so much turmoil going on in that state that people were pretty scared of what was going on or what could happen. So a lot of fighting back and forth between the North and the South, or excuse me, between people in Kansas alone. About the same time came a very, 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 very important thing called the Dred Scott case. And this is a picture of Dred Scott. And the case was actually Dred Scott versus Sandiford. And let me tell you a little bit about Dred Scott. He was a slave and lived with a slave owner, and they lived in Missouri and went to Illinois, went to Wisconsin, which was a free territory. And during that time, when they were in Illinois and in Wisconsin, which was not even a state, he was basically free. Dred Scott would have been, but he chose to stay with his owner. And when he did, when they finally moved back to Missouri, his owner died. And he thought he should be free because when he lived in Wisconsin, especially, it wasn't even part of the United States. It wasn't a state at the time, and it was a free territory, so he should have been free. And this case went all the way to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court had to decide, do we think that he should be free or that he should still be a slave? And the Supreme Court said no, that he should still be a slave, that he was not going to be free. And this caused a lot of turmoil, a lot of angry people, and part of the reason for that, their decision was they said that it is unconstitutional to make a territory be for or against slavery. It says nothing in the Constitution that we are able to say that something that hasn't started yet, that isn't a state yet, that it's going to be free or it's going to be slavery. So that made the whole Missouri Compromise unconstitutional. That whole thing where we said, okay, if you're south of Missouri, you're a slave. If you're north, you're free. They said we couldn't do that. That was not legal to do at the time, and so it pretty much meant all that stuff was for nothing. So there was chaos throughout the country. People didn't know what was free and what wasn't, and just lots of problems because of this.